All right, what you should have done for x cubed, I'm going to plug in -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. -2 cubed, what is it, guys? -8. -1 cubed, 0 cubed, 1 cubed, 2 cubed. Perfect. If I want the inverse, I just need to swap the numbers in the table. So this will be -8, -1, 0, 1, 8, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. So I'm going to go ahead and graph the original one right here. -1, -1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 8. So this is what your original function looks like. I'll label it f. And then the inverse, I'll do it in red. So -8, -2, -1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 8, 2. All right, so that is what your graph should look like. And notice, guys, these are inverses of each other. That means whenever you graph an inverse, it's going to reflect across this vertical line. Do you guys know the equation? Sorry, not vertical, diagonal line. Do you guys know the equation of this line? Perfect. Y equals X. All right, so in an inverse relationship, the values of X and Y are, what did you put? Good. They are switched. Just like we did in the table, we switched the X's and Y's to get the inverse. When a relation and its inverse are graphed on the same grid, the two relations are reflections about where? Y equals X. We just saw that. Inverse functions undo each other. This example, I'm going to go ahead and make my table. I'll plug in those same values. -2 cubed is -8 plus 1 is -7. -1 cubed is -1 plus 1 is 0. So those are the values I get in my table when I plug in these X values. Go ahead and graph it. So this is the original graph. And of course, to get the inverse, all you have to do is switch X and Y. So those are the inverses. Now, another thing I want you guys to do is to solve for the inverse equation algebraically. I want to know what the inverse equation is. I have the table, I have the graph, I want the equation. So what I'm going to do is switch X and Y. And then solve for Y. So subtract 1. You now have X minus 1 equals Y cubed. Then I'm going to take the cubed root of both sides. So that's my answer. This is my inverse. Okay, so how to start this problem? Whenever you have a cubed root, numbers that you would like to get under the root symbol is a -8, a -1, a 0, a 1, and an 8. If I plug in my first x value, -8, what is the cubed root of -8? -2. So this becomes 2 times -2, which is -4. Next, instead of a -8, we're going to plug in a -1. The cubed root of -1 is -1. Then you multiply these to get -2. This will give you 0. This will give you 2, and this will give you 4. Now that you have the original table, swap the x's and y's to get the inverse table. And then you can plot both on the graph. You guys can look up to check your answers. So I'm going to graph this one. All right, your original should look like that. And the inverse, if you flip those points, -4, -8. Right here, -2, -1, 0, 0, 2, 1, 4, 8. All right, guys, that's what your inverse graph should look like. This one's your inverse, and this one is the original. Okay, you should have also found the inverse algebraically. So I'm going to switch x's and y's. Madison, what did you do first? Perfect, divided it by 2. So now I'm here. X divided by 2 equals the cubed root of y. Brianne, what'd you do next? Perfect. You cubed both sides. All right, next we're going to distribute this cubed in. So this is x cubed over 2 cubed, which is 8. Now, if you didn't do that, that's okay. If you just left it like this, that's fine. And since they started off with f of x, I'll write my answer as f inverse of x. So this is the proper format. That is the inverse function. All right, finding the inverse algebraically. First, we're going to switch x's and y's. And I'm going to solve for y. So first, you should have subtracted 5 from both sides. So you're left with x minus 5 equals y minus 3 cubed. Next, I'm going to get rid of that cubed. So I'm going to do the cubed root on both sides. The cubed root cancels out with the cubed. So now I'm left with the cubed root of x minus 5 equals y minus 3. The last thing I'm going to do is add 3 to both sides. So I get the cubed root of x minus 5 plus 3. And that is my inverse. Do I need to tell you guys the domain? No. Do you guys remember the only time I need to tell my domain? When was that? If it's when I start with what? X squared. Yes, if you start off with the square root and you go to a quadratic, then you're going to have to tell me the domain. Otherwise, you don't have to. You need to tell me how it's restricted. X's can only be bigger than 3. X's can only be from 3 to infinity, that type of thing. Tell me the domain restriction. So now we're going to use a composition to determine if the functions are inverses or not. So just like we did in the last part, I'm going to write one of them really big. I'm going to write f of x really big. I wrote f of x. Everyone write f of x on their page. Just don't write the x. Instead of the x, put parentheses. Now, I'm going to put the second equation into the first one. So write 1/5 x cubed plus 2. And we're going to simplify it. So I'm going to distribute the 5. 5 times 1/5 is 1. So this is just x cubed. 5 times 2 is 10. I can write down everything else. So guys, the 5 canceled out with the 1/5. That's why I'm left with x cubed. And then 5 times 2 gave me the 10. Everything else just came down. Next, 10 minus 10, that's just 0. So I'm left with the cubed root of x cubed. And those cancel out. I'm left with x. All right, that looks good. We have to do it the other way, though, to make sure. So I'm going to write g nice and big. And I'm going to plug in this first equation into here. So I'm going to write the cubed root of 5x minus 10. And guys, you should be showing me the work step by step. This is what you should not be doing. This is what you shouldn't do. You shouldn't just be telling me that cancels, and then those cancel. I don't want to see it all in one step. You need to show me every row how it changes. Okay. I saw that a lot last year, so I thought I'd mention it. Okay, so this cubed cancels out with this cubed root. Those cancel. So I'm left with 5x minus 10, and I'll bring down the rest. Now, we're going to distribute this 1/5. The 1/5 and the 5, those cancel. 1/5 times negative 10, what do you think you're going to get? Yep. 10 over 5 is just 2. And then you have a plus 2. Negative 2 plus 2, those cancel out. I'm left with just an x. So since I'm left with just x on both of these, that means f and g are inverses. Okay, so you guys try the next one. You should have wrote f of x big. And instead of this x, I'm going to plug in this second function. All right. Long, what is the cubed root of 8? 2. And then this cubed root cancels out with this cubed root here, leaving you with x. All right, and then we have 1/2. All right, 1/2 times 2, those cancel, you're left with x. That was the first one. Then you're gonna write g big, and we're gonna plug that other function inside. Okay, so 1/2 to the power of 3. That would become 1/8. This cubed with the cubed root will cancel out, and that will just leave you with x. So this is what's left over. This cubed went to the 1/2, and it went to this thing. All right, now if you distribute this, 8 times 1 is 8. So you get 8 over 8, x. Those cancel, it's just x. So that means these are inverses. F and G are inverses. And we proved it using composition of functions. That's it.